Gran Turismo is a series of driving simulators developed by Polyphony Digital, exclusive to the PlayStation. Gran Turismo aims to emulate the experience of driving a real car with an advanced physics engine and high-grade audio for every car, though anything prior to Gran Turismo 4 the cars kinda sound like vacuum cleaners. Since the launch of the first Gran Turismo in 1997, the series as a whole has sold over 90 million copies worldwide, making it the best-selling racing game under the PlayStation brand. The series is sponsored by Japan Race Promotion, Brembo, Michelin, Mazda, Gazoo Racing, BBS, and Fanatec. The series uses telemetry data from real-world races and various car companies for its physics engine. A film was made about the series in 2023, to mixed reviews. The series is known for its accurate physics simulation and its large number of licensed vehicles, and their close attention to detail in the cars and tracks. Apart from Gran Turismo 5, where the attention to detail with cars kinda went out the window, but generally it's pretty good. The physics engine in theory works almost exactly like a real car, with weight transfer, suspension response, and understeer and oversteer, with the cars also being made to handle like their real-world counterparts. It also makes use of the DualShock's rumble and force feedback on supported racing wheels, though in practice the physics engine has been shown to break with certain updates and just general bugs. The sim has been a flagship for the PlayStation, with it usually pushing the limits of the system. Gran Turismo has two modes, arcade and simulation. You usually start with 10,000 credits, which you can use to purchase a vehicle of your choice. Certain events require certain cars, and you also need to go through the game's licenses system to unlock new races. Gran Turismo was the first racing game to implement wheel support. As previously said, Gran Turismo is a series developed by Polyphony Digital and produced by Kazunori Yamauchi. When Kazunori Yamauchi started developing the first Gran Turismo, his team consisted of only 5 people, which later grew to 17. The development of the original Gran Turismo game took 5 years to complete. At the time it was very different from other racing games, which usually had oversimplified handling and exaggerated movement, as opposed to Gran Turismo's realistic style with realistic handling and quite advanced for the time physics engine. Sony initially rejected Yamauchi's pitch for a realistic racing simulator, however his team continued to still work on the project. After the success of MotoToon Grand Prix and MotoToon Grand Prix 2, Yamauchi pitched the idea to Sony again, and this time they accepted it. The first Gran Turismo had role-playing elements, where players started with entry-level cars, which can be slowly upgraded. Faster cars can be acquired with prize money won from races. You as the player are taught how to play the game slowly through license tests. For the first time it had a realistic visual style which pushed the PS1 to the max. At the time it also had a really impressive roster of cars featuring over 150 licensed cars. The vehicles could also be customized. Everything was available from a hub world of icons where you could go to dealerships, do the license tests, and go race. The game was released in Japan in 1997 and worldwide by mid-1998. It sold 2 million copies in Japan alone. Gran Turismo was released for the PlayStation in Japan and North America in 1999, and the rest of the world in 2000. With Gran Turismo 2 came the rallying race type. It also had a much larger roster of cars, at 650, but with only 7 tracks available. The size of the game also meant it was put onto 2 discs. The next 4 installments were released for the PS2, starting with Gran Turismo 3 in 2001. Gran Turismo 3 added various things such as changing your car's oil for better performance, and added the new GT Auto area. It also added endurance events where if you make it to the finish you get a big payout. Gran Turismo 4 Prologue was released in 2003 as a taster for Gran Turismo 4. With the release came a much bigger hub world with more things to do. It also added a photography mode where you could take pictures of your car in a scenic environment. Gran Turismo 4 also saw the addition of a mode where you can direct an AI driver around a set track to hopefully guide them to first place and stop them from going off the track. You also need to balance the driver's stress and tiredness levels. A youth-focused Gran Turismo was announced in November of 2004 with a scheduled release date of 2005, though 2005 came and went with no Gran Turismo. In September of 2006, Kazunori Yamauchi confirmed the game was still in development. Another 2 years went by with nothing, and then in April of 2008, Kazunori Yamauchi stated, "We're hoping to make Gran Turismo for Boys a feature within GT5. In an interview in 2013 with GT Planet, Kazunori Yamauchi said that the 2009 game for PSP was a rendition of Gran Turismo for Boys, and that there was no need for a separate game. Sony demonstrated a modified version of Gran Turismo 4 at E3 2005 to demonstrate what Gran Turismo 5 will be like when it released, which it didn't for a very long time. Yamauchi later stated that development for the PS3 was an absolute nightmare, leading to the game being delayed multiple times. Gran Turismo 4 Online Test was later released in 2006. It featured online play, which was scrapped from Gran Turismo 4 mid-development. With online came an early form of matchmaking. Gran Turismo HD Concept was released in 2006 as a taster for Gran Turismo 5. It had just 10 cars and 1 track. Since the launch of Gran Turismo 5 Prologue, online play has been a staple feature, enabling up to 16 people to play together. Another installment, simply titled Gran Turismo, very creative I know, was released for the PSP in 2009. It featured 800 cars and 35 tracks, each track having a reverse layout. The game didn't have a career mode, with IGN stating, "It's just racing." Later that year, Gran Turismo 5 was shown off at E3, with a release date of 2010, and as promised, Gran Turismo 5 released in 2010. With Gran Turismo 5 came GT Academy, a former initiative in which Polyphony partnered with Nissan to give players which were exceptionally good at the game a chance to become a real-life motorsports driver. Yamauchi later stated that in the first 2 Gran Turismo games, the cars were made up of only 300 polygons, which, to put into perspective, the cars in Gran Turismo 5 were made of 500,000 polygons. At least that is true for the premium cars, because the standard cars are just slightly more detailed versions of the car models from Gran Turismo 4. Gran Turismo 6 released in 2013 for the PS3 only, although by the time it released the PS4 had already been out for quite a while. This was because of the same reason Gran Turismo 5 was so delayed, the PS3 being so f***ing hard to develop for. But looking past that, Gran Turismo 6 was quite an improvement on GT5, having over 1,200 cars to drive. But with more than half of those cars being standard cars, was there really an improvement? Though the tracks did see an improvement. Yamauchi later commented that the PS4 was much easier to develop for, compared to the PS3. Gran Turismo Sport was released for the PS4 in 2017. It received mostly positive reviews. Eurogamer's Martin Robinson described Gran Turismo Sport as a deviation from previous titles, and I quote, "There are no lunar landers, no 19th century single horsepower wagons, and not even anything by way of an open-wheel racer to be found in its car list at launch. Yet conversely, this is possibly the most focused, directly enjoyable game Polyphony Digital has put out since the heady days of Gran Turismo 3. It was later placed at 21st on Eurogamer's list of the top 50 games of 2017. Gran Turismo Sport was also the first game in the series to focus on online-only ring racing. Similar to Gran Turismo for PSP, it didn't feature a career mode, pretty much sidelining the idea of car ownership. The game continued to have content updates at no cost to the player up until the release of Gran Turismo 7 for the PS4 and PS5. Talking of Gran Turismo 7, it was revealed at the PS5 Future of Gaming event in 2020. It received mostly positive reviews, with Ars Technica stating, "Polyphony has struck a good balance here. The threshold for achieving a bronze finish in each test is relatively easy to reach, but getting all golds might be a time-consuming and frustrating experience depending on your skill. It faced some criticism for its monetization, wherein you can buy credits and things of that sort, but it is completely avoidable by just playing the game and winning races to progress. With Gran Turismo 7, Polyphony moved away from the gameplay of Gran Turismo Sport and back to a more traditional Gran Turismo gameplay experience. With that came the reintegration of career mode, once again bringing the idea of car ownership back. Bringing back career mode was highly praised by reviewers. The Gran Turismo series as of 2022 has sold over 90 million copies, making it the highest selling game on PlayStation consoles. Gran Turismo 1 sold just under 11 million copies, making it the highest selling game on the PS1, with the next title, Gran Turismo 2, selling less at just 9 million, becoming the third best selling game on the PS1. With a record that still stands to this day, Gran Turismo 3 is the best-selling Gran Turismo game in the entire series, being the second highest-selling game on the PlayStation 2, just behind GTA San Andreas' monumental 17 million copies. Gran Turismo 4 took third place in highest-selling game on the PS2 at just under 12 million copies sold. With the new console came a new high, with Gran Turismo 5 becoming the second highest selling in the series at just under 12 million copies sold, which IGN attributed to the long wait between installments and the anticipation that came with that. Gran Turismo 6 kinda dropped the ball, selling less than Gran Turismo 5 Prologue at 5 million copies sold. Gran Turismo Sport did impressively well, selling nearly 13 million copies. In 2013, Sony announced that they were working on making a movie adaptation of Gran Turismo, but in 2018 they scrapped the project. On the 26th of May, 2022, Sony announced they were working on a new Gran Turismo movie, with Neil Blomkamp eyed to direct it. On June 14th, 2022, it was confirmed that Blomkamp would direct. With that, they also announced the movie would be releasing on August 11th, 2023. It was also announced to be a non-fiction movie based on the story of Jan Mardenborough, with Archie Madekwe cast as the protagonist, Jan Mardenborough. Filming began in November of 2022 in Hungary and finished in December. The movie grossed $122 million worldwide, making $8.5 million on the first day. The film received mixed reviews, with Rotten Tomatoes consensus being Gran Turismo's brisk action and feel-good underdog drama are undermined by its loose telling of the fact-based story, but this is still a generally solid racing movie. Let me know if you want me to make a video about the Gran Turismo movie. With the advent of Gran Turismo came greater involvement of the automotive industry in video games. The series actually increased the sales of real-world cars featured in the game, leading to all 7 generations of the Mitsubishi Lancer being sold out in Japan. This caused Mitsubishi to bring the 8th gen Lancer to America. The TVR car brand also saw a sales increase of 6 times after its inclusion in the first game. The Gran Turismo series is also sponsored by all these companies. Lamborghini actually used Gran Turismo as a simulator when making the Lambo V12. As said earlier, GT Academy was a joint venture between Sony Computer Entertainment, Polyphony Digital, and Nissan Europe. The program lasted from 2008 to 2016. But how did you actually get into the GT Academy? Well, for that you had to compete in one of the online qualifiers within one of the supported Gran Turismo games. If you made it to the top of the qualifiers, you would be invited to the national qualifier in your country of residence. That is, if your country was participating or not. Now, if you made it through the national qualifier victorious, you were sent to a race camp in Silverstone in the UK for the final selection. If you happened to emerge victorious from that, then you went through a driver development course designed by Nissan, with the intention of honing your driving skills until you were ready to compete in worldwide competitions. After doing all that, you would be sent to join the Nismo Global Driver Exchange and go on to race in the following year's Dubai 24-hour race. Some of the actual winners include Lucas Ordonez, Jordan Tresson, Jan Mardenborough, all of which have gone on to compete in professional racing events. Notably, Jan Mardenborough was barred from going to the British GT for being, interestingly enough, too fast, outpacing the rest of his group entirely. GT Academy was shut down in 2016. Well, there you have it, the entire history of the Gran Turismo series explained. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please tell me in the comments what you think. Thank you very much for watching. This has been one of my biggest projects I've made yet. Please consider subscribing, drop a like, and have a great day.